My name is still Hans Ole Fagen, for those of you that were here for the last session. I'm a product developer in the customer service team. Before I started as a product developer, I was a consultant for 3 years, doing some workshops, doing a lot of customizations, and so on. This session is about how can you use the SOAP interface to interact with customer service. How many of you have used the SOAP interface before? Okay, so the agenda for this session is a quite fast introduction to the web services, the different types that we have. We're going to look at examples of usage, and we are going to do some live programming. So, our services are divided into 3 parts. We have the customer port, and we have the ticket port, and we have the admin port. The customer port is primarily for, it has the equivalent functions as the customer center, while the ticket port are for users that have a login and username and a license. And the admin is apparently for creating new categories, get all the categories and doing several stuff there. There are some restrictions on the SOAP interface. First of all, you need to have a license. I think it is the data exchange license that you need to have in order to use the SOAP services. And there are also an IP range that you need to configure. This screenshot you will find in settings and SOAP. Here you need to enter your IPv4 address, for instance, for testing environments, and so I usually just set 1111.2555 and so on, just to make sure that the IP range is not part of the troubleshooting. Be advised that this is IPv4. We don't currently support IPv6. So if the server is configured with IPv6, then our SOAP interface will crash. Okay, the documentation is available in the Expander SDK and as a standalone document file, which is called soapinterface.doc. The documentation file includes all the different functions that you can use in the different ports. For instance, which functions are available in the customer port, and in the ticket, and in the admin. The WSDL files that you need is also access restricted. It uses the same IP range that you can configure, and you also need a SOAP license to be able to retrieve them. They are available from this path. You can see that it's soap.exe, !action and the port name, which may be ticket, admin, or customer. So it's a separate WSDL file for the different services. Examples of usage. The applications that you might know of is AMIT. AMIT uses the SOAP services to communicate with the customer service installation. You have the eJournal agent. How many of you know what the eJournal agent is? Yeah, it's a little tray app that you can have that regularly pops up a pop-up that says you have a new message, you have a new request. That one also uses SOAP. And you can also use the SOAP interface for different single sign-on solutions for the customer center. And a lot of our customers that uses the SOAP interface use it to reprogram the customer center, because due to firewalling, they might not want to have the customer service installation in the DM set. So by using the SOAP interface, you can have an ASP site in DM set and communicates with customer service within the local intranet by opening some ports. But then again, you need to recreate a lot of functionality if you want to go that way. Some of our customers are actually doing that right now. One important thing about using our services is that most of our methods requires a session key. You need to use a login method, for instance, login as customer, or login as user. All those three methods will generate a session key that you need to use on the corresponding communication with the server. One session key that is generated from the customer port, you can't use this with the ticket or admin port, because when you're using a session key on a customer, it's a customer that you're using. If you're using from ticket or admin, that's a user in the system. But if you generate one session key from the login function in tickets, you can use the same one in the admin port. So no need to log in twice with the same username and password for the ticket and admin port. When you are finished, call logout. That will destroy our session and make it, you can't use any of the methods anymore. There are some timeout in the system that says that if you haven't logged out within 30 minutes of inactivity, it will be automatically removed. The login as customer and login as user are functionality that you might want to use, so you don't have to, for instance, for a single sign-on solution, then you can use, for instance, a system account that logs in the customer. Then you just need the system account username, the system account password, and the username of the customer you want to log in as. The same thing goes with login as customer. Login as user. Then you can use both the system username and password. Using the login as user for the admin and the ticket port allows you not to use one license for the SOAP interface. Before we had this functionality, you had to create your own user to log in as into the port. And if you didn't do that, you didn't have any access. And the login as user also requires that it is an e-journal administration user. And so you don't want to use a normal user account for that one, especially if the user is used for other things as well. For instance, a normal user is logging in with that. And what happens if he then suddenly decides to change the password? Then your whole SOAP thing will go down. So use login as user if you can. And the password is located in the registry with reg ID 120. It is also a description called SOAP system user account password thing. So it's easily found. Okay. This is a very small web sequence diagram of what you need to do to, for instance, create a ticket. First of all, you have to use one of the login methods, for instance, login, or login as user, or login as customer. This again will return a session key to you, which you can use for further communication. Then you use the method called newTicket to generate a ticket, and you get the ticket ID back, and then you use that ticket ID to create a message. This is quite similar to what you do in EJScript. First you create a ticket object, and then you create a message object, and you connect them together. So let's do some live programming. The things that we are going to do here now is to, first of all, I'm going to show you how you can consume a web service. I'm going to use Visual Studio 2008, since that's installed in this computer. The method that I'm using now is identical with Visual Studio 2010. They generate the same proxies and so on. After we have consumed it, we're going to log in, and we're going to create a ticket, we're going to add a message, and finally we're going to log out. So, I cheated a little bit. I created a project. Now we have to add our reference. I'm just going to set this as start a project. Now I can choose to add the service reference. I type in where I want to go. I'm using the customer port. Let's go, and hopefully we will get the service soon. Okay, that was... okay, let's cheat a little bit. This service, I have added this service manually using the same method. Add service reference, enter it, press go. The namespace, please choose a different namespace for each port. For instance, the namespace can be customer services customer, for instance, or admin, or tickets. The reason for this is if you're using several services in the same program, you will get a conflict because we use the same classes. But since they're not, the Visual Studio is not clever enough to understand that these are the same types. So if you use the same namespace, you will end up having a lot of conflicts in your solution. So I'm going to remove this one. Okay. To start communicating with the service, we create a new client. I see some people, they create a port type like this. But the problem now is I have to send in a big class. But if I use the client here instead, I just have to send in the username, the password, and get out the session key. So just enter here. Username, password, out session key. Now, any methods that we are creating or that you're calling, they will return a string indicating, did this go well or did it not? If the return value is 0, the string literal 0, it is okay. Else, login failed. So, okay, let's see if this works. Try to run it. Just set this one as start a project. And we have a read key at the bottom. Oh, errors. And we got a session key. The first number indicates what is our customer ID. The next one is random generated hash that we can use. Okay, now we are logged in. Let's create a ticket. The function for that is called new ticket. We send in the session key. You see that it's that one, and you can send in a title. That's the title. The security level. Remember that the security level is divided into two types. We have internal level, which are 1, and we have external level, which are 2. Since we are a customer from and we're calling the customer center, let's use external for that one. Category, we just set it statically to 1, 1 for this one as well. And you see that if we have also the possibility to send in extra fields. Be aware that you can only set extra fields that are set external in the system tables. Let's not send in anything, and let's get the ticket ID back. And let's remember to declare it like this. And if red code equals 0, then we have successfully created our ticket. And it has this idea. Okay, let's also just add a message as well. Then we can use the add message function to do that. It also takes the session key, a message body from SOAP, ticket ID, which was previously generated. The security level, we set this as 2 for external. And we have no attachments, new string. And out with the message ID. And let's declare that one as well. And yet again, we need to check for if it's successful. Like this. Let's see if this works. Da-da-da-da-da. Something went wrong. Let's debug. Red code 9. Let's try to find out what that one is. Spell world. And as I mentioned, we have something called SOAP interface documentation right here. At the bottom of that documentation, you have an appendix with your error codes. Invalid priority. Okay, let's check our system.
You have to use an external product.
Yeah, you see that it isn't external. So let's set this one as external. This was the category ID, like this. See now that we have red code 0, which means it's successful. We have successfully created a ticket with ID 2, and we have added a message to that ticket. Let's check in here. Okay, while it's working, let's check the code again. You see that we are only calling 3 methods to create a new ticket and adding message. It's login right here. It's a new ticket right here. And add message down here. So those are quite easy steps to do to create a ticket. And here we are. And we see both are marked as external. So now I can retrieve that information again if I want to. Does this sound easy or? Okay. Yeah, we should log out. Okay. Let's actually do the logout down here. Fairly simple code to create a ticket. Now, I was talking something about single sign-on. That is also quite easy to fix. Well, let's create something that is called, for instance, by SharePoint. You want, for instance, to have a little part that lists all the requests belonging to that user or to this customer. In this case, we can use the login as customer function. Let's say system user. System password equals, and we need to find it. Let's log into the server. And here's a now you can see a SQL statement that retrieves the password with a registry ID 120. Let's copy that into our solution. The password is auto-generated when you install customer service, so it will be different between several customer service installations. Let's see, back to our standard world. Let's paste it in. We have no need for this one. The login as customer has another signature than the other. The username here is actually the system user and system password. And then we can use my username, Hans, like we did previously. And we need the session key. So, let's actually print it out. With, let's see, HTTP, support, scripts, customer, and then we can this parameter will indicate that we're using this session key. Session key like this. No logout statements, that's nice. Just in the meantime, go to make sure that we're not logged in. There. See, we're not logged in here. Hopefully this will return soon.
I think maybe after I was more SM system.
Prettier. Like this. Now let's just paste it into our web browser. And now we're logged in. Using login as customer, you have no IP restrictions. If you use login as user, for instance, and you try to pass the session key, so you can use it in rms.exe, it will not work. This is because this is IP restricted. Let's see. So using this method, you could add a little panel, for instance, in SharePoint or other services, and you can use the system user to log in the user with the previous credentials to see what kind of tickets you have. Or you can create a redirection link for from your intranet site. Any questions so far? And we did this. There are some few tips and tricks that you might be aware of. I mentioned previously that we don't support IPv6, and it's going to crash if you try. But we have something else. On the ticket port, we have a method called execute script. This allows you to extend the standard SOAP functionality if you want to. For instance, we had a customer who wanted to get all the different courses from the database with how many signups there were, start dates, and so on. We could, for instance, use a lot of different methods in the ticket service, get extra table, and so on. but it was more cleaner to wrap it up into an external script. So let's make an example of that one. Let's go into let's create a script. Let's go with hello soap. We have also, in the execute script, you have the possibility to send in the name or different variables. For instance, I want to send in a variable called name, and I want to print hello. You are from soap, for instance. Let's see if that's good. That it did. Let's see if we can get through this one now. Let's try a couple of things. Let's say. Anyone having some good jokes? Let's see. Let's try.
There's a suggestion here.
Go to advanced. You can add soap from there. You have to click like add web reference.
Yeah, but that generates a different proxy. It will generate something else. But we could try. Probably because my computer isn't on the net.
Yeah.
I guess that's the reason.
Try connecting to the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, well, anyone having the password? Just hold on. Try to just... Is Telenor there?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
And we're...
Hang on. Go method of payment. Conference. Then if someone has the access code.
There's a bug in this thing, just press the right login button. then it will continue.
What?
If you press the right login button without entering something, it will continue because there's some kind of bug or something.
No, the Nordic Choice Club?
Yeah, that's right, that one.
Login?
Up, login.
Up.
Up. Yeah, that one. So now everyone.
Nice! Hero of the day.
Very.
Let's try this one again. Here we are.
Nice.
And as I said, we have customer service as a namespace. Let's call this something else. Let's call it ticket service. Here we are. Let's enter. Now we can get rid of all this. Let's start typing. We need our username. And we need a password. And we need to store our session key somewhere, so we need to declare that one. And we need our ticket service port type client. Have anyone of you consumed a web service like this before, using service references or using Windows Communication Foundation before? For instance, let's say that we want to enable HTTPS, then we need to use a set of different endpoints, or hopefully it will generate it by itself. But if you, for instance, have retrieved the WSDL file, before you set it to HTTPS, you need to add a new let's say, endpoint binding. This will enable HTTPS if you want that into our sub interface. There's a little deviation. Let's see, client, want to log in, username, password. Then we need to check again for our return code. If it's 0, we're logged in. And we now want to execute the script. We send in our session key, and we say that they're asking for the include name, which was hello soap. Yeah. And we can send in our value pair struct with our different parameters. And we want to do that now. And you see that it was complaining. We need to remove the previous reference because we are now smashing together two namespaces. Send in the field, which was name. Value, something like this. Now, okay. And it takes an output string and an exception message. We need to no stream outputs. Now let's make this a little bit more reader friendly. Like this. And we need to check our return value again, if it succeeded. Be aware of that. The red code equals 0 will be regarding to the SOAP or the session key, but if the script fails, the exception message will be in the variable exception message. The return code will still be 0. Let's see if this works. Here's what we typed in. Hansu ha 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 was the name that I sent into the script. The script printed, if you recall, hello name, you are from SOAP. And we can see here that we got our output from the execute script. What you can use this for is, for instance, to return an XML payload if you want to. Then you can parse this in an XML reader. Or you could execute different things. For instance, we have an internal project, an internal SOAP application in R&D which we call Exclaim. This Exclaim is used for our time management. We can use that to record how much time we're using on different projects. But the SOAP interface are not good enough. We don't have the required methods. Then we can use the execute script to enhance the SOAP functionality. And back to some of the tips and tricks. If you can't retrieve the WSDL files, I should add here, make sure you have an internet connection and check the IP range and the license. Prior to SR2, there was a little error in the SOAP interface that said if you had removed or if there were any inconsistencies between the number of EJ users in the table and the number of licenses that you actually had, the SOAP would crash. That is fixed in SR2. So if you have an error in SOAP and you can't see where the problem is, it might be that issue. Any questions? Any samples that you want to see? You're so quiet. I should have something to give you. I was talking with some of my colleagues yesterday about bringing a twist bag, a lot of chocolate. And for those who ask questions, they will get one. Maybe I should have done that. That was the things that I had about the web services. If you have any questions, then you can use DevNet, for instance. The development team is there. Please remember to evaluate the session. Thank you.